Hey everybody, this is Rad Devin. I've decided that in my gift guide this year, I'm not going to try to find a whole bunch of new crap that you need to go out and buy. Instead, I'm mostly going back to the well to the stuff I've already recommended the last couple of years. And here's why. For the last 2 years, around this same time, I've put together a little gift guide of items that you could get for the web developer in your life or for yourself if you want. I'm not going to do that this year for a few different reasons, but the biggest reason is that as a web developer, once you have the gear you need, that's kind of it. You don't need to keep accessorizing. You're going to have some expenses that keep coming up. You're going to have services that charge regularly, or software subscriptions, or maybe software that releases a new version that you want to update to. Books are always nice. They help make you better in both your personal life and your professional life. Courses and other educational expenses are nice for expanding your skill set, making you better at what you do. But aside from those things, if you just upgrade your hardware from time to time when you need to, you're probably good. Before I go back to those guides and look at some of those items that are still incredibly useful to me, I want to point out my books playlist, where I have reviewed some books and told you how they are applicable to you as a web developer. I have a lot of those on this shelf behind me. The real standouts are Atomic Habits, The Personal MBA, Make Time, The Lean Startup, Anything You Want, and The Obstacle is the Way. I will put a link to that playlist in the corner of this video so you can go and check all those out. All of these are fantastic. They will change the way you work, change the way you think about the work, and some of them even change the way you live. I cannot recommend those enough. Moving beyond those and into some of the equipment, I have this odd creature. This is a vertical mouse. It looks a little bit odd, but it's really just a mouse. You would hold it like this, so this part would rest on your desk, and you move it around just like a regular mouse. It's got 2 buttons and a scroll wheel just like a traditional mouse. The only difference is that your hand is resting like this vertically instead of horizontally as it would be with a typical mouse. I do not know the science behind this, but I can tell you that resting your hand like this is much more natural and much more comfortable. I'm not mousing a ton. I rely pretty heavily on the keyboard, but this is really nice for when I do mouse. It is a Bluetooth mouse, so if your computer has Bluetooth, it'll just hook up. I think it also comes with a Bluetooth dongle so that you can add Bluetooth to a computer that doesn't have it. The one thing about this mouse that I don't like, when I first got this, it was actually much more painful to use, and that was because my hands are really bony, and I've got this crazy bone in my wrist right here. And so, in holding the mouse like this, that bone was pressed right down against the desk, and that was fairly painful. I thought I was going to have to get rid of this mouse until I found this. It is a little wrist rest. It was very cheap. I don't remember how much it was, but I will post a link to it in the video description. And it's got this, it's a little dirty on the back right now, but it's got this material that sort of adheres to the desk. It's not adhesive, so it doesn't actually stick onto it like a sticker, but it does kind of hold to it so it's not moving around. And it's really nice and soft. And this paired with the mouse, I can rest that crazy little wrist bone right on this pad, and it just makes this whole experience really comfortable. The next thing I want to tell you about is also related to ergonomics, and that is my standing desk and my standing desk mat. These are pretty expensive purchases, but if you're going to be doing this for 6, 8, 10 hours a day, perhaps, you should really invest in making sure that time is both comfortable and healthy for you. A standing desk is one way that you can do that. Since I switched to a standing desk, on the rare occasion that I do sit to work, I've noticed that I can get really lethargic and my brain just slows down while I'm sitting. I'm much more effective and alert when I'm standing at my standing desk. Then if you add on top of that all of these alarming articles that were coming out a couple of years ago about how dangerous sitting was for you, and I think it makes the value proposition for something like a standing desk really compelling. The one that I use, I bought several years ago. It is a Next Desk Terra. I also think that in the time since I bought mine, there are a lot of competitors who have come along with very comparable desks that are much cheaper than the one I bought. I'll give you a link to a cheaper alternative standing desk in case you want to take a look at that too. Then you're going to want something to stand on, especially if you have hard flooring. I don't, but I still use a standing mat. The nice thing about a lot of the standing desks, including the ones that I'm going to recommend to you, is that they are adjustable, so you can actually drop them down and make them a sitting desk. I'll do that sometimes if I'm not feeling super well, but I am maybe well enough to do some work. I'll just lower that desk down and sit for the day or for 2 until I've recovered, and then I can go back to my regular standing position again. You can also adjust it up or down for whatever standing height works best for you. The standing mat I use is made by a company called Topo, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but it's kind of cool. It's not flat. It's got some sort of, terrain, I guess. But it lets you kind of shift your position around and relieve tension on different parts of your feet. That's what they say anyway, and it seems to work well enough for me. I also have a failed experiment in ergonomics that I can show you. This is a split keyboard I purchased a while back now. It is an ErgoDox EZ. I think it's a very good keyboard, but if you look closely, you can see there is a healthy layer of dust on this thing, and that is because I hardly ever use it. You can also see none of the keys are labeled. I had the bright idea that if I'm going to be learning to use a keyboard with this sort of layout anyway, I might as well just also learn a completely different keyboard layout, like something besides QWERTY, so that maybe I could be more efficient, or maybe the layout would also be more ergonomic, so I could kind of, level up twice on my ergonomics. But it turned out that was such a difficult transition that it never really happened. I couldn't muster the willpower and the time to learn that new layout. So this thing just kind of sits there, and since it's custom for me, it's going to be really hard to even resell or anything. So it's just kind of a desk ornament at this point. This keyboard is not a desk ornament though. This is a Ducky 1-2, which is a really terrible name for a keyboard. The 1 is spelled out and the 2 is a numeral, so it's a Ducky 1-2. It is a mechanical keyboard, and it's pretty basic. It's a full keyboard, so it has the full number pad, it has the arrow keys, and then it has the regular letters and numbers that you would expect. It has a great click to it. Hopefully you can maybe hear that click. These are blue key switches. You can order it with different sorts of key switches if there's something else that you like better. Maybe you don't like the clicky, you like something with less click to it. This is just it's a pretty cheap mechanical keyboard, and it's really solid, and it's just served me really well. I got this to replace a DOS Keyboard Professional, which was very stylish and expensive and only lasted about 2 years. And this one is probably approaching that now, and it was about half the price, and it works just as well. I've got some software that I buy that I use very frequently. The one I want to recommend that I use most actively is 1Password. It is my password locker. I use it to store the passwords for every service that I use. This allows me to be way more secure on the internet because instead of, like most people do, having one password that I just tweak a little bit to fit within whatever the password requirements are on the new site I'm registering on, I have a unique, randomly generated password for every website I use, and then I have one password, hence the name, that I use to unlock my locker. That's the only password I have to remember, and then the software takes care of entering the individual passwords for each service that I use. It keeps everything in sync across all my devices. It has a mobile app so that I can log in to things on my phone, on my iPad. It has a web-based interface that I can use if I happen to be on a computer where I don't have the software installed. And it's just really cheap. It's like $2 or $3 a month. Oh, and for that $2 or $3 a month, it also tracks when your passwords have been compromised and lets you know that you need to change them. It's really worth it, and it's just so slick the way it works. The other software I want to recommend is Backblaze. It is an automated backup solution. It runs all the time on your computer. It keeps everything on your computer in sync with their cloud-based storage. I have not had total data loss since I've been subscribing to Backblaze, so I've never really put it to its fullest use, but over the past year, there have been at least 2 instances where I've recovered a single file that I deleted by mistake. And the time that the software saved me over having to recreate those files from scratch was well worth the yearly fee I pay, which I think is like $60 to back up everything that's on my computer, an unlimited amount of data to their servers. If you do like I do and you accidentally delete a file or two, you can download those directly from their website. If you lose everything and you need it back tomorrow, you can have them ship you a hard drive with everything on it so that you're not having to download hundreds of gigabytes or maybe even a terabyte of data. The backup runs automatically in the background so you don't have to do anything. And even if you already maintain local backups, this service could be valuable to you because what if there's a fire? What if your sprinkler system gets set off and everything gets water dumped on it? You may be in a situation where you have lost the original source of the data and you have lost the backup. Then it's really nice to have a cloud-based solution that has your data somewhere else off-site so that you can't actually lose it all at once. The last things I want to tell you about are probably the 2 things I've gotten the most use out of, maybe with the exception of my keyboard and mouse and monitor, of course, but these have been incredibly useful pieces of hardware, one of which I've talked about before, and that is my Bluetooth headset. This is a Sony MDR 100 ABN. There are newer models of this headset that I would go with, or similar headsets that I would go with if I were buying again now. But this one has been really great. It's a Bluetooth headset. It has noise canceling. It has a microphone built in so I can use it when I'm on my video calls. It's very comfortable to wear. The battery lasts frickin' forever, which is really nice. It's just a really nice headset. My last year has not been much different in terms of work. I've always worked remotely, but these have always been useful to me. If you are a new remote worker in the last few months, a headset like this one could really improve your remote workflow. This last item is along those same lines. I don't think I've talked about this one before, and it's sort of a 2-in-1. It's a pretty cheap Logitech digital camera. I think this is a C290, but I will provide a link for you. And you might notice it's got some nastiness on the face there. That is because I had my daughter make me a little paper eye, and I taped it on there just to remind me that if I want to look people that I am talking to remotely in the eye, I need to look into here and not where their eyes are on the screen. That's just a little pro tip to remember as you're doing your remote meetings. I have this on top of a thing that is sort of like a selfie stick plus tripod, and I just put this behind my laptop on my desk, and I raise it up to where it's just sort of peeking over the top of the laptop. And this is what I use to do my remote meetings. A lot of mine are over Teams or Zoom or whatever, but this will work for anything. It's got pretty good video quality, and it's relatively cheap for what you get. I will add a link both to this and to the selfie stick / tripod, so you can check both of those out. If you're looking for a gift to encourage the web developer in your life, or maybe even something for yourself, any one of these options would make their working life a little bit more pleasant. If you have any good ideas that I haven't listed, I would love it if you would share those in the comments below the video. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you in the next one.